All good.
Let me get this bigger.
You're live.
I am live. I
Good.
am live. We are live. Excellent. We are live here on a Wednesday morning with all kinds of stuff to get to, all kinds of news. We started the morning with you sending me some stories about Kemba Walker, Celtics player, Celtics star, sometimes, after the big win in the play-in game over
Gun,
the
Kemba
Washington
Walker,
Wizards.
Kemba Walker, gun rights advocate, big fan of limited government, all the good stuff, all the
The
hits.
most, I guess it's not technically a playoff game, but it was the single most lifeless Celtics game that I've ever seen on TV. I assume the people there thought it was pretty lifeless in person. This is, again, the teams, the Celtics, Red Sox, they all thanked the governor, Charlie Baker, for reopening, the economy and allowing them to fill the place. The Red Sox are going to be able to sell the place out if they can on May 29th. And I said, like I always do, why don't they just say right now? The economy's open. The state is open right now. The data backs up, this move. We're open for business. And everyone said, well, not everyone, lots of people say, oh, they need time to prepare. And what are you complaining about? At least we get to do it on the 29th. And I say, they have a game, a Celtics game. It would be Tuesday night. It'd be against the Wizards. They should be able to sell the place out. We know now, people are vaccinated. People are wearing masks. It's not a big thing. And that's what they're doing in many markets. They're selling the place out. They said, no, we'll wait. I blame the governor for this 100%. We saw again the most lifeless game. It should have been, Jason Tatum goes off for 50 points. He kind of beats, Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook in a kind of a mano a mano with his friend Bradley Beal. And it sounded like the most lifeless preseason game with a bunch of scrubs playing, nobody caring. You need fans, you need energy. And by the way, I know Marv Albert is retiring soon, whenever he's like 80. I think it's time. He's been great. He's been great for 5 decades. But he didn't know who the players were. He didn't care. And Grant Hill was even worse. They just had they should have, somebody tweeted this. They said, where is Gus Williams when you need him? Where's Tommy Heinsohn when you need him? You needed someone with some energy, some life.
And the Garden is, and that's what sucks too, is I'm not a basketball guy, but I love going to playoff basketball games. Like, there's something, I mean, it's playoffs in general is different. Garden at basketball games is freaking nuts.
And you know what? Same thing's going to happen with the Bruins. They're going to have, I don't know what's the total, 3,000 fans or something, and it's just not going to feel right, especially coming off the first 2 games in DC, correct?
Yeah, there's some hate. There's some hate between the teams right now. So
yeah, and it had the energy, and it felt like real playoff hockey. And maybe it will. Maybe hockey's more intense, and maybe the fans who are allowed in will be loud, will be crazy, and it'll feel intense. But it's a problem. I mean,
they were just pumping in fake for TV. This fake kind of like consistent. I haven't been watching.
It was awful, and everyone said it, and people were tweeting what a disgrace it was that you have a game with real stars, and you have a game that should have had real energy, and people tuning in who haven't been watching lately, like me, tuning in because it's got it's postseason, and it's got some real stars, real marquee matchup. And it just felt so flat. And it just felt like one of those, COVID games where you say, okay, people aren't, they're not there. First of all, there's no crowd. It just doesn't feel real when you have these COVID restrictions. They should have petitioned the governor and said, what do you think, Gov? Can we just do business? And we'll get to that. I'll mention it now. The Red Sox can sell out on the 29th, which is another 10 days. 10 days from now, they're allowed to do business. And I know that there's another reason I could never, run a team, because I couldn't do the PR it takes in a place like Boston. The team, the Red Sox, had to tweet out how grateful they were to the governor. Thank you, governor. And thank you, Mayor Janney, for allowing us to do business. When not all, many of the other markets are wide open. Other teams have real home field advantage, have real energy, are making real money. And the Red Sox had to wait because Governor Baker wanted to show the world that he was really serious about public health. And he wanted to follow suit from his fellow liberal blue state governors like Cuomo and Whitmer and the rest of them and Gavin Newsom. And so he wouldn't let them, bang the place out till the 29th. And I'm saying, why can't they do it today? And again, why are they thanking the guy? Wait till they find out. Wait till all their fans find out the way the Celtic and Bruin fans are going to find out that all their favorite watering holes are gone, that the Fours is gone, and the greatest bar is gone, and these bars that surround the Garden and I assume surround Fenway, many of them are gone. The governor put them out of business, and you're tweeting out how grateful you are to the man. You should be tweeting out 2 middle fingers saying, we're doing business. Finally, no thanks to you, we survived this, and our fans are coming back, and the Red Sox are lucky they got off to a good start, because if they didn't, you want to talk about dead, flat, lifeless crowds, that's what they would have on the 29th, and hopefully for their sake, they don't go in the tank for the next 10 days, and they have people who show up on the 29th and keep showing up, because it's not going to be easy. It's still early in the season. A lot of people have lost interest. A lot of people are sick of the wokeness from many of the professional teams, and no team is more woke than the Red Sox, as we all know. They're still very proud of the fact that they have the biggest Black Lives Matter sign in professional sports. No one has a bigger BLM sign than the Red Sox. That's how woke they are. But if they're winning, people will show up.
Am I wrong to be kind of like, I feel like, and we've said this week, is that the tide is turning, right? The weather is turned and all these things, the momentum, right? I feel like the story should be out there. If you're going to tell me a story from whether it's the New York Post or whoever, I'd rather know who's not opening up at full capacity to this point. Like yesterday,
right.
I was looking for stories today for today's show. It was like, oh, wow, Fenway Park is going to return at full capacity. Oh, wow, Lollapalooza is going to be full capacity in Chicago. We're shocked now, or we're reporting it like we're shocked that that's happening, as opposed to, no, this is what
I guess we're shocked that a place like Boston or Chicago or LA would allow it. I mean, obviously, the Texas Rangers have been open since day one, since opening day. Houston Astros wide open, Atlanta Braves. These are places where, Fauci predicted a super spreader event, many deaths. New York, Texas yesterday had 0 deaths. Their cases are down. Not that matters, but it's under control in Texas, and they've been wide open with no masks and no restrictions for months now. And places like Boston are catching up, and I assume it's because of the private sector that the Red Sox and the Celtics and all the businesses are saying, you're killing us. You have to get out of the way. And finally, people like Baker, whose instinct is to get in the way, are getting out of the way and allowing these people to do business. And, if the Celtics advance, I guess, it looks like they're going to take on the Brooklyn Nets, which is not going to be easy, but
Kyrie, yes,
that's too bad. That's a huge, talk about marquee matchups. Kyrie coming back to Boston, and, Kevin Durant and James Harden. And I mean, that's a game you'd like to see. That's a game the country will tune in to see, and they'll tune into the Boston game, and it won't be the 29th yet, which, as we know, the virus, the scary virus, is hanging outside the Garden, and it's on the 29th it goes away. The virus knows about this deadline. So the 28th, the virus is still lurking. So you better have your mask on, and you better be socially distanced. On the 29th, the scary virus floats away, flies away, and you can show up in full force. The country's going to tune into that game. The country's going to tune in if Baker still has these ridiculous rules in place, and I guess he will, because you can't rush things. The country's going to say, whatever happened to the Celtics? Whatever happened to the energy in that building? They should, boy, do they miss the old Garden. Look at this place. There's no sound. There's no energy. I mean, if Marv Albert's still doing the game and Grant Hill, it's going to be embarrassing to the city of Boston, to the Celtics, to have that kind of lifeless crowd and no energy. And you know what? They're going to be underdogs, and they could get spanked. And it doesn't help when you have no home court, when you have no energy, or no people there on your side, intimidating the refs and intimidating the opposing players. That's the way it's going to be if they don't change the rule. And, they should. I mean, let's be honest. This 10-day lag time is senseless. There's no rule. There's no science behind it, of course. It's just a way for these people to extend their control over things. Baker should say today, good luck to the Celtics, good luck to the Bruins, Red Sox, sell the place out. I'm getting out of the way. But he won't, because that's not what they do.
And I know you're going to go on to a different Celtics topics outside of mass, but I do want to ask the audience on, if you go to Callahan Podcast, subscribe to the YouTube page. But people are in the chat, and Meredith just reminded me during the show yesterday, the MIAA dropped the mask mandate, and I did see a lot of local high schools still requiring their athletes to wear masks on outdoor sports in some situations. If you're in that situation, if your your kids are playing sports and they have to wear masks outdoors, let us know in the comment section.
I would not, if my kid, like I said, my kid had to wear his at the graduation the other day and he wasn't happy. If I had a kid and he was playing whatever, lacrosse, and he had to wear the mask and he had to, gasp for air, I would be one of these parents who would be beside himself. I wouldn't be able to handle, especially knowing, as we've said over and over, there is no science. There is no reason, no health reason, nothing for the adults to still do this. And, I said this yesterday with Shattuck. I'll say it again. It is child abuse. If you're forcing a child to wear a mask, you are a child abuser. You should be arrested. And I'm not kidding. This is causing great discomfort to children for no reason other than your twisted sense of virtue, other than your selfishness, your cowardice. You're forcing children, and with Shattuck, it's 10-year-old softball players, forcing them to obstruct their breathing for no health reason, for no good reason at all. It makes you feel better. You're like Rachel Maddow or Joy Reid. When you have a mask and some other people, you feel better. Now you're one of the good guys, and the people without masks are the bad guys. That's all that matters to you. And it's disgusting. It's truly disgraceful that you do this to kids. I'm going to talk about this every day till something changes, because it's so maddening that there are adults out there, and we're not calling them out. We're just allowing them to do this, forcing this on children. They should be shamed. They should be ostracized. You should be singled out, say, you are doing this to kids. You're doing this to your kid and other kids. You're a sick person. If you're doing this for your own your own satisfaction, making kids do this, you're a sick, twisted individual who should be called out. And I'm dead serious. They should be like at this league with Shattuck. They should say, that's the guy, kids, who are making you all do this. That guy, we should all know. We should, first of all, demand his explanation. Why are you doing this to kids? And he won't have one. It just makes him feel good. I mean, it's just a disgrace. It's a shameful era in this country. We'll look back someday and say, I cannot believe we did that to children. We're going to get to the hero that we've all been waiting for, and it's not, sadly, Tom Shattuck. But first, I woke up to this. You sent it to me, and in this case, I just laughed out loud. We got a controversy on the Celtics beat. In this day and age, in this woke era, in 2021, in professional sports, this is what you call a manufactured controversy. I'm sure, unless you read Deadspin, and who reads Deadspin, no one will think anything of this. But Kemba Walker, Celtics star, wore a jacket. You know where this is going. Last night into the arena. I don't know if you can put this up on the screen if you're watching. Here is the Celtics tweet from the team, and he said it's just typical team, locked in for the play-in game, and it's got a picture of Kemba Walker showing up. He's got a yellow jacket, he's got a yellow hat, he's got a mask on, of course, and a bag in his hand. He's showing up at the arena. On the back of the jacket, it says, "Don't tread on me," which, in my opinion, it's just means nothing. It means patriotic. It's like an American flag. It's just a sign of patriotism. It's been around for more than 200 years. It's been around as long as this country, the symbol. I was just reading about it, and
Gerry, it was featured prominently. January 6th Capitol riot featured prominently.
Okay, let me ask you this: what other flag was featured prominently? Oh, that would be the American flag. So what if Kemba Walker showed up with the American flag? Would that make it
if the American
flag a symbol of white supremacy or insurrection?
Delete.
Benjamin Franklin used it notably That it was a sign. It means don't tread on me. Don't it was first flown in 1775 in a battle cry for American independence from British rule. So it's older than this country, and it's a sign of patriotism. And I don't care if every freaking person and January 6th had it. I don't think it's been co-opted by white supremacy. Of course, that had nothing to do with white supremacy.
I saw Milo Yiannopoulos or whatever his name is wearing that same exact.
Oh no,
yeah, no, so I don't know what you're talking about.
So I mean, I guess this is the day that it becomes verboten. You can't use it, you can't say it, or the media will call you, like when the Patriots had that kicker who had the 3%er tattoo, which is, again, not white supremacy. It's just a right-wing gun rights organization representing, people. And maybe some of them stormed the Capitol. That doesn't mean if someone wore that jacket or whatever, flew that flag on January 6th, it could never be used again. It's still, it still was used by Ben Franklin. It still was used by the Patriots who fought the British and won our independence. I'm sorry. Kemba Walker should have turned around, given them all the finger. He had no comment. The team deleted the tweet and just wanted, and I don't blame them. They just want it to go away. They don't want, people showing up today and saying, "Can you explain why you wore that, Kemba Walker? It's a cool looking jacket." I saw it the other day. I think was it a Dick's or somewhere? I saw T-shirts with that on there. So if it's going to become a symbol of white supremacy, they better act quick and get those all out of the stores, and people who own them better throw them away, because this symbol of patriotism is now been declared off limits. And
though in the tweet they actually use a hashtag JBL X Celtics, so it's obviously a tweet that's in partnership with JBL, whether it be headphones, speakers, or whatever. So it could be a thing where they just said to themselves, like, we got to delete this, because just in case the brand has some kind of problem with it in some capacity. But they didn't really.
At some point you have to say, again, what if it's the American flag? Are they going to say that's too patriotic? I mean, we know that when they put the American flag on Nikes, Colin Kaepernick didn't like it. Colin Kaepernick complained, and I believe they discontinued or whatever the shoe. But if Colin Kaepernick is upset that you use the flag, like if he has a jacket or hat with the flag, does that mean you're not going to do it anymore? Because the flag was flown on January 6th by all those insurrectionists. At some point, you have to say, get lost, go screw. This is a cool jacket. This is a cool symbol. It's been around for 250 freaking years. But whatever, we know, and I'm not blaming, again, Kemba Walker. He said he didn't know. I believe him.
Yeah.
But maybe he should do a little research. Or don't even have to do any research. Get lost. I like the jacket.
Yeah, but why? If you like the look of it, why do you have to do research on it? You just bought it. He doesn't know. Who cares?
Well, I mean, if it's a swastika and you say I like it,
yeah. I mean, I think, but it's not. Things that are obvious. Yeah, certain things that are obvious. That yes, I'll give you that. This isn't not obvious.
I don't want to spy. I want to get to the kid. I want to get to the 10-year-old hero. We have a hero. We have a spokesman. We have a leader in this movement to unmask children. To again identify the rotten parents and adults who are forcing masks on children, and we have a guy who's going to lead the revolution. This is William Wallace. This is Moses. This is King Leonidas. This is a leader of a movement. His name is John Provenzano. I want to get to him, but I want to finish up with since you brought up, or I'm anticipating the Deadspins of the world to bring up January 6th. And when it comes to Don't Tread on Me.
Yep.
Did you see? And we know that it's a complete political act here, putting all these January 6th people in solitary confinement. They arrested 430 of them. Dozens of them are still in solitary confinement for trespassing, essentially. There were no guns. There were no murders. They took these people, and because they were the Trump supporters, because they didn't vote for Biden, we have this political purging going on, and these people are in solitary for 4 months without any chance of making bail for trespassing. And we have video of the cops telling them, "Come on in." It's the most insane thing, and the real insane part, in my opinion, is when I tweet about it or mention it, all I get invariably I get a bunch of these responses. Oh, screw them. They screw them. They're a bunch of insurrectionists, and I don't care about them. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to care about them, but do you care about the rule of law? To be put in solitary with no bail and no charges, no date, just because you are the system, the swamp disagrees with you politically, and they're in charge now. They're in charge. It's amazing how few people give a damn about these fellow Americans who are rotting in cells, people who don't have records, who aren't criminals, and they're just sitting there. The guy who put his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, and I've said before, he's an idiot, and they're a bunch of morons, and what they did was a disgrace. But again, no guns, no murders. The only person shot to death was Ashley Babbitt, shot by an unidentified cop. Again, she's on the wrong side, so we don't know the cop's name. We don't know the circumstances. We don't know if there'll be any punishment for the cop. Apparently not. I mean, they keep it a secret. Can you imagine if it was the other way around? It was an unarmed BLM protester and a cop just shot her in the throat because she was trespassing. I mean, it would be the biggest outrage in the country, but these are pariahs.
Why are you speaking so nicely of these people when their own representation doesn't speak so highly?
I was going to, if you want to see one reason, well, obviously the big reason that they're all in jail, rotting, solitary, no bail, no chance to make bail, is because they didn't vote for Biden. They supported Trump, period. I mean, we all know, most of them are disorderly conduct, trespassing. I mean, they're not, they aren't being charged with violent crimes or felonies. I mean, unless it's some trumped up, felony trespassing. What they did, again, was a disgrace, but they, at what point do you say, okay, enough, they get to go to trial? The guy who put his feet up on the desk is facing 82 months, 7 years or thereabouts in prison, and he'll get it. I mean, because no one's going to defend him and no one's going to care. The guy who burned the police station to the ground and forcing the cops to run away in Minneapolis, burned it to the ground, tried to kill cops, by the way, just burned it. He's doing 4 years. And I was surprised it was that much, 4 years. He's on the correct side. He's with Antifa and BLM. So he gets off easy. The guy who put the feet up on the desk is going to do 7 years, 7 hard years for trespassing when the cops said, come on in. It's insane right now, and so few people care. There's one woman, Julie Kelly from American Greatness, who covers it every day. You should follow her on Twitter. You should read her stuff because she's the only one covering it, and it's incredible. It's incredibly outrageous. But we now know one reason, I should say, that one of the reasons why these people are rotting. They have really bad representation in some cases. Viking Man. We've talked a lot about Viking Man, the idiot with the Viking horns and the face painted. We have video of him saying, be peaceful. We have to peacefully assemble. We have video of a cop or Capitol policeman escorting him into the Senate chambers, where he just stood there and, whatever, just howled at the moon is what he does. There's nothing violent. He doesn't assault anyone. He doesn't destroy anything. He's been held without bail in solitary confinement for 4 months. They got him some organic food. That's about it. His name is Jacob Chansley. He calls himself the QAnon shaman. He's a total weirdo. He's a total screwball. But again, you go away forever for being a screwball and trespassing. So there's a person who interviewed his lawyer. His lawyer is named Albert Watkins. A reporter interviewed the lawyer and tweeted out an excerpt. This again is the QAnon shaman, the Viking Man's lawyer, the guy who's supposed to be getting him out of solitary confinement and getting him, getting him bail. There he is right there. This guy's a nut. But again, being a nut shouldn't put you in prison forever. The lawyer, Watkins, said his client has Asperger's syndrome and indicated that Chansley's mental state would play a role in the case. Quote from the lawyer defending QAnon shaman. A lot of these defendants, and I'm going to use the colloquial term, perhaps disrespectfully, but they're all fucking short bus people. Watkins said, these are people with brain damage. They're fucking retarded. They're on the goddamn spectrum. But they're our brothers, our sisters, our neighbors, our coworkers. They're part of the country. They aren't bad people. They don't have prior criminal history. Fuck, they were subjected to 4 years of goddamn propaganda, the likes of which the world has not seen since fucking Hitler. That's the lawyer for Viking Man. The lawyer. Right there. Somebody, I don't know who, should step in, some organization, legal watch, judicial watch, and say, okay, this guy does not have proper representation.
I'm trying to think of like the last movie I watched that's like, this is the comedy scene, right? Where the guy needs representation, hires his like fat buddy or whatever. That's right. It's not a real attorney.
Well, I would say like the cousin Vinny, the other lawyer, the stuttering lawyer, but this guy just called his client short bus people and effing retarded. His client, not this. If this were from some observers, whatever, legal observer, you'd say, okay, first of all, that's offensive. Secondly, that's not a defense. You don't say, excuse me, Your Honor, my client's a short bus person.
Yeah, but at least he says they're not bad people. They don't have a prior record or anything.
I mean, you could, if you want to make that case, we know that a lot of them had huge debt. A lot of them were unemployed. A lot of them feel like they're getting screwed by the system. We used to respect those kind of people. In this case, they're white, which means they're white supremacists. So screw them. And most people in the mainstream media don't care. They don't care if the system railroads these people and puts them in solitary forever. They're on the wrong team. But I guess this is a court-appointed lawyer, because like most of the people who were arrested on January 6th, Jacob Chansley, Viking Man, doesn't have any money, so he gets this guy. And this guy, it's his job to get him out of solitary. I don't think he's getting it done. I don't
think he stands a good chance.
It's the most amazing quote I've ever seen from a lawyer. I tweeted it out. If you want to read it in full, you will not believe it. It's just stunning that this is a lawyer. And by the way, if Viking Man goes to trial, it's going to be huge. It's not, Derek Chauvin huge, but it's going to be a big deal. Cameras will be there. The news media will be there. And this nut job is supposed to be making the case to defend his client. And what if he goes out on the sidewalk and does a press conference, this guy Watkins? That is going to be wild. We always thought it was going to be wild, but this is going to be even wilder if he's still there. This interview might, kind of ruin the relationship.
Well, I mean, Talking Points memo isn't exactly like going to Fox News or anything like that. So I don't know.
That's true, but the quotes making the rounds. So what did he think? It was off the record? I mean,
that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe he just thought it was so absurd that he was just like, they would never include that into the piece. He's just
that happens when people think they're off the record. But whatever. We'll find out if the lawyer Albert Watkins, is still representing Viking Man. I guess I should root for it, because it'll be crazy. It'll be theater if he's the lawyer and he's making, an opening statement talking like that. But they're all still in solitary for mostly for trespassing and disorderly conduct. So, the country is safe. The republic is in good hands, because these people, they tried to overthrow the government. They tried to make Viking Man our new God King. It didn't happen. And I love these people say, we got to make sure January 6th never happens again. Here's an idea. Why don't you line up all the people, take them out of solitary, take them to, I don't know, the middle of on the mall in DC, and cut their heads off. How about that? You have a firing squad and just kill them all. That will assure January 6th never happens again. Make examples out of them. Well, I guess they're already doing that. They're in solitary. January 6th isn't going to happen again. If the Capitol Hill Police doesn't let them in, then it won't happen. Simple as that. I mean, if they didn't let them in, I don't know. I know this is pretty advanced technology for law enforcement, but what if they, I don't know, lock the door? If they lock the door to the Capitol next time, then it won't happen, and we'll all be safe, and you won't have to worry about dangerous insurrectionists like these nitwits, like these short bus people, to quote the lawyer. But enough of that. We'll follow it. We'll continue to read Julie Kelly and keep you updated on these dangerous insurrectionists. We got to get to this kid. Because as we talked about yesterday, the movement, the let's stop abusing our children movement, the anti-child abuse movement that wants to take the masks off of 10-year-olds. It's growing. It's energized. It's angry, as it should be, but it needs a leader. I suggested Tom Shattuck be the leader yesterday because he's going to tomorrow, I believe Thursday, his next softball game. He's going to tell his kids to take the masks off, even if that one parent, that one rotten parent who complained that kids weren't wearing masks last game, forcing all the kids to put their masks back on and gasp for air, even if that parent is there. It's time that someone stood up and said, you can leave, get lost. These kids need to breathe. We're done with you. We're done with all these fanatics. Shattuck, he'll be okay. He'll do his best tomorrow. I'm counting on him. But the new leader, the new spokesperson for the movement is named John Provenzano. And if you saw John in the video, John spoke before a school committee meeting, a school board meeting in Martin County, Florida. John is 10. He's in elementary school. And you want to see somebody who is going to do something with his life. I'm not sure. It might be good. It might be bad. He's either going to be, he's, the leader of some massive, crime syndicate, or he's going to be president. He's brilliant.
He's going to be part of the next insurrection. Probably.
He'll be leader of the next insurrection at the Capitol. And this time, and his lawyer won't say he's a short bus person because he's brilliant and he's articulate, he's smart, and he's sick of wearing a mask. He went before the school committee. The video went viral. Then he was on Tucker. Then he was on Newsmax, and now he's on Fox and Friends. He's making the rounds, and each time I'm amazed at how articulate he is. This kid's 10. He's reading his statement. For the most part, he's reading it, which helps when you're reading a script. But he's saying words like claustrophobic. I mean, I got, best friends who couldn't read that word. They wouldn't know what that word is. Hypocrisy. He's reading words, and he's just so good. And the best part, and we'll play some of it, is he's indicting the teachers. He's not just saying, it's hard to breathe when we're in the playground. He's saying that. But he's pointing out the teachers. There's a teacher who walks around school writing kids up for, if their mask doesn't cover their face. And he's pointing out the teachers yell at the kids if they pull the mask down to drink water. And then they sit there and do the same. The teachers pull the mask down and drink water. So he's calling out his own teachers. So this kid is brilliant, but I'm just going to guess he's not going to get straight A's anymore because he made these teachers look like a real big part of the problem. I know these are the orders from above, but if you let a child breathe, just say, I understand. What's the downside? You think you're going to get in trouble if you're a teacher and they found out, oh, your 10-year-old drank water, or your 10-year-old ran on the playground with the mask wasn't covering his nose. That's the kind of lunatics we have in classrooms, in teaching now. Not all of them, but a lot of them have bought into the fanaticism, and they're enforcing this on children. But let's hear from 10-year-old, the new leader of the movement, our own William Wallace, John Provenzano.
Turned 10 years old.
Just talk a little closer to that.
I just turned 10 years old, and I am a 4th grader at Felix A. Williams. I expected school to be a little bit different in the beginning, but I didn't think it would stay this way all year long, and I was surprised by the rules. A lot of them didn't make any sense to me, like the fact that we were not allowed to play on the playground or have student council or turn to face each other at lunch, and we also have to wear masks outside at PE and on track. I love my school and all, but my teachers seem really stressed, and that makes me feel bad. One teacher walks around with a clipboard full of referrals for any student whose mask isn't on properly. It makes me feel scared. That same teacher yells at us having our masks down to drink water while we are outside in Carline. She told us we had to wait until we were in our parents' car to have a drink of water. She had her mask down the entire time while she was yelling at us, which makes me and all my friends very mad. This happens a lot. And it seems unfair teachers take their masks off while they yell at us kids and that we need to pull ours up. I asked my mom if there is a word for this, and she said there is: hypocrisy.
That is a trained actor right there in that moment. That is brilliant.
He just turned 10. And this goes on for, how's that going for like 3 minutes or more?
Yeah.
And then he went on with Tucker, and he was the same way. He was just glib and articulate, and not the least bit nervous. No stage fright in this kid at all, which is amazing at that age, and knowing the cameras are on him. Hell, he's speaking before the school board, and he's calling out his teachers, and he does it without hesitation. I mean, this kid.
We need a little more background to this kid, I think.
Well, I think his father. I think we know his father is leading the movement too. He's his father. The day before was speaking to the school committee, and they give him 3 minutes. So he's talking about how crazy it is because he's sick of watching these teachers abuse his child, or these school administrators or coaches abuse his child. I mean, if you're a parent, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to stand up and demand an end to this because they're abusing your children.
Yeah, but then you're not.
I mean, you should never tolerate this.
Yeah, but then you're not supposed to use your kid as a pawn for the next day. Now, granted, he went viral.
Yes, you are. When your kid is that smart and that articulate, his father's speaking before the school board, and they decide his time is up, and he's talking about how much damage they're doing. And by the way, we just talk about the physical damage. You know, you can't breathe, but think of the psychological damage you're doing. This kid said that he met a teacher who's had like all year, and the teacher didn't know it was him, didn't recognize him. He said, "Oh, I didn't know you were in my class," after like 7 months, because his face has been covered the whole time. You don't see the smiles, you don't see the facial expressions. It's just so bad for people, and specifically children. But the father spoke before the school board, and they played the video. The cops like drag him away. They pull the mic out of his hands because they said they've heard enough. These arrogant SOBs on the school board had heard enough from a parent who didn't want his kid being abused any longer. And they like dragged the father away. So it's in the family. His whole family, God bless him, is fighting back. Somebody's got to. And I think this moment, this is a viral moment that people are going to see all over the country. And I realize in red states where things are good and the economy is good and the governors are not these tyrannical monsters like they are in blue states, it's not a problem necessarily, although that's Florida. And this kid even said, or maybe his father said, that Ron DeSantis is on their side. I'm not sure why Ron DeSantis can't just order all the schools to stop abusing children, but I think this kid's going to become a hero, and he's going to become a leader, and there's going to be lots of other kids like him who stand up and say, enough. But I don't know if you want to play any more of him, but it went on for a while, and he was so good, and it was just amazing. He said, again, I would say I couldn't do that well. I'm damn sure no
shot in hell. No shot in hell. You put your 10-year-old kid out there the next night after you did it. There's no shot in hell you use your kid as a pawn in that game.
He's not. So you don't think the kid's telling the truth?
I don't think a 10-year-old knows. I mean,
a 10-year-old's the one wearing the mask, Dave. What do you not understand?
I know, but
father's not the one at recess.
A 10-year-old
running around. A 10-year-old is smart enough to know this stupid thing they're forcing him to wear is not helping anything. He's smart enough to know he's sick of it.
A 10-year-old respects the rules. They hate them, but they respect the rules. And if it was something where he like went to the principal, I don't know. I don't know the best way to do it, but it's a 10-year-old.
This kid is speaking, and he's getting into details about how uncomfortable it is. It's hot out. They're forcing him to do this out at track, running on the track or running at recess. This is madness. And this kid is speaking up, and I guarantee you he's making a difference. I'm not sure if the entire country will, immediately say no more masks for children, but it should. It should. We should all be doing it. We should
How many times?
Every adult. I don't have a kid in elementary school, and this pisses me off to no end that these teachers, these hypocrites, are saying, "Put your mask on before you, get on, go leave school," and yelling at children. And this teacher's walking around the hallway writing down names of 10-year-olds who break the rules. This is madness. We've turned our teachers into a bunch of narcs, although many of them enjoy the role, and we've turned our kids into revolutionaries, fighting the system, fighting the man. And this kid's John Provenzano. I won't live long enough to see him make it to the White House or make it to the Senate or become the next leader of some massive drug cartel, but he's going to become a leader of some big movement. And, I think, and I look forward to rooting for him because this was brilliant. Maybe you're right. And they'll never stop. Maybe he'll be on TV every night.
Yeah. How many times do you think he practiced that hypocrisy line with his mother and father the night before? I mean, that was
to me that makes it even more amazing. Can you imagine getting a 10-year-old to practice his speech? I mean, get him to learn it that well. I mean, that's amazing.
It just shows how crazy. I mean, to your point, it just shows how pissed off people are that they're willing to make a spectacle of their child to get a point across. There's no way.
It's a great
that kid went up to his parents and was like, you know what I want to do? I want to write a speech and perform it at the next board meeting. Like they recommended that action.
Well, no, but what if he came home every day and said, Mom, I'm so sick of this mask. I can't breathe. It's sweaty. The teacher yelled at me. And they said, you know what? Enough. This is what we need. This is exactly what we need. People have followed along like sheep for too long for no reason. I mean, and what they're doing, and to me, this should be the breaking point. The government or the head of the school committee, the principal, whatever, this person in position of power is forcing parents to abuse their child. They're inflicting pain on their child. We went through this yesterday. This is madness that whatever the leader of the softball league is just this twisted, adult who says, you know what? I want to see these kids gasp for air. I don't want to see their faces. I want to make it hard to breathe for no reason. Everybody knows there's no health reason. There's no science reason. There's no science behind this, no data. They know it. They don't care. It's amazing that we've reached this point that there are any adults who are in favor of this. And there's millions of them around the country that say, whoa, can't be too careful. Let's mask up the 10-year-olds. It's insane. And it's about time people fought back. And hopefully, tomorrow night, Shattuck, gets his whole team to fight back. This is what every parent of a 10-year-old should be doing. They should not be saying, well, we got it. Rules are rules, kiddo. Rules are rules. Sorry if you can't breathe out at recess. Rules are rules. And the kids should say, but what does this do? What's the good side? What's the upside? There is none. It's just, again, symbolism. People saying, look, I still care. They know this kid's not going to get the virus. They know they're not going to give it to anyone else. They know it and they don't care. These are bad people. I'll say it again. But
Shattuck said his daughter, this is the softball team's 10-year-old, right? So it's the sweet spot. So he should have his daughter do the speech for him because we know he can't pull it off. His daughter do it tomorrow night and go viral, promote the burn barrel while you're on it. It's like a win-win-win.
But you know what? You know that most people are on your side. Most people realize how ridiculous it is. Again, the person foisting this on children is in the minority, the very small minority. There aren't any, cogent, clear-thinking adults who want to do this. There are none. There is none. No adult who's thinking that clearly wants to mask up a child. None. These people who are doing it have something wrong with them, something wired wrong with them. They want kids to suffer. We should not be deferring to such rotten people, such bad parents, bad people. And I'm just going to say, thank you, John Provenzano, for leading the way. Hopefully many, many more people follow your lead, including Coach Tom Shattuck of the Falcons tomorrow night, but we shall see. All right, a couple other things we have to get to. Joe Biden drove a truck. That was very exciting. An electric F-150, which no one wants, no one's going to buy, no one cares. People love F-150s. They're a best-selling vehicle in America. The people buying them don't mind, buying gas. They don't want to pay extra for an electric car just to make, just a virtue signal, because that's what they are. As we all know, as has been proven many times, Priuses do more damage to the environment than Hummers. The Prius need batteries. Batteries are mined, and it's just they don't care. It just makes them feel good. And if you got a lot of money, you buy a Tesla. That's again showing how virtuous you are, but it goes really fast and it looks cool. So that's different. The people driving F-150s aren't clamoring for electric vehicles, even though Biden drove one on a track. The real funny part, I shouldn't say funny. The notable part, if you missed it, is he drove around the track and then he stopped and talk to the media. I should say the media. Talk to his fan club. These giggling, slobbering children who cover the president. And he made a joke about running one of them over. It was stupid. It wasn't even like a joke, but.
Ready?
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive
No,
away?
you can't. Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it.
Okay. I understand that he wasn't serious, and I'm not taking offense and saying, he wants to kill the media. But they laugh. And then when he pulls away, they laugh hysterically. Can you help me out, Callahan? I'm not that smart. Where's the joke? Can I ask you a question about Israel? No, not unless you get in front and when I gun it.
Yeah.
So if you ask a question, I'm going to kill you. Is that the joke?
I guess so. I guess they're not doing what they should be doing. Yeah, it wasn't that. Right. It wasn't that effective. So Can you play it when he pulls away? Because if you think these slobbering, sycophants were bad when they giggled at that little wisecrack and said, "Mr. President," he drives away, and not only does the media start laughing hysterically at nothing, they start cheering. They literally start cheering because Biden, and I guess there's reason for this, Biden drove a car. Biden could drive. It's, I guess, and there's no one else on the track, which is how, when you're his age and you're struggling cognitively and you get confused easily, there are people who say, maybe you shouldn't be on the road. And the good news is he wasn't. It was an empty track, so there weren't many people who were in danger. But if you could play the sound when he pulls away.
All right. Our best driver ever. I think
that was best test driver ever. This is the media, quote unquote. These are the journalists. They're laughing hysterically because the president drove a pickup truck and made a wisecrack, which wasn't funny, and they start clapping. I mean, you could see it's a little gaggle, cameras, mics, reporters. Best test driver ever. Is that the same guy who said, we love your dogs. We love your dogs. Again, I know it's kind of a tired old thing, but if that's Trump, first of all, they would say Trump threatened to murder a reporter. And secondly, they would say, oh God, what an a-hole when he pulled away. Instead, that's the best test driver ever. God, what an embarrassment. What a sad collection of sycophants we have covering the White House. But, and you speak, they're not as bad, I should say, these fools covering Biden, as the people, and I know I'll specify and say the people from the Boston Globe, which is not really, again, a newspaper, but they should be covering this next story because it's big. The story's big, and it's today, at least, it's going to go to another level. We've covered it. We've talked about it, especially with Turtle Boy. Michaela Miller. We know the name. You know the name. She's the 16-year-old, tragic story, 16-year-old who committed suicide. She obviously had issues. She had a problem with her girlfriend. She's an African-American lesbian teenage girl from Hopkinton who hanged herself a few weeks ago. She was near her home, from a tree with a belt. They did an investigation, a thorough investigation. There's a lot more evidence. Turtle Boy has uncovered it. Turtle Boy has blogged about it, shown you the text. It was a troubled young woman, clearly had big emotional issues, and sadly ended her own life. It's obvious. The cops know it. The people at Hopkinton High know it. People, the friends know it. The people exploiting the situation, lying about it, are some of the worst people in the world. I mean, these are genuinely vile human beings, beginning with Monica Cannon Grant, the activist, the race hustler who, we've gone over this. Turtle Boy has blogged about it. She is just one of the worst people in the world. She calls everyone racist, and she uses just the most vile slurs, and she gets away with it all because if you criticize her like Turtle Boy, you're a racist. She has intimidated people to the point where the city of Boston provides her with an office, to the point where people in the suburbs rich white liberal women send her money. That's how she pays the bills. They send her money. And what she does is, she's kind of a local small time, race huckster, like a Al Sharpton type, or Ben Crump. Ben Crump, if you don't know Ben Crump's the lawyer. He's kind of become the lawyer of some of these high profile cases. He's represented George Floyd's family, and I'm not sure what he does other than take his cut. George Floyd's family, Jacob Blake, Breonna Taylor, the big high profile cases, he swoops in and takes, a third. He's made millions because the government has settled with the families of some of these people. And what he does is he comes in, represents the family, and tells bald-faced, blatant, flat-out lies. He lies. He riles up the crowd. At times it leads to rioting and looting. Sometimes it even leads to death. Ben Crump doesn't care as long as he gets his 33%. Ben Crump is coming to town today. We believe it's virtually, but he's going to do a press conference with the family of Michaela Miller. We know about Miller's mother. She's not a nice person. She abused the girl. She abused her own daughter. Turtle Boy has proved it. He's laid out the case. And she knows her daughter committed suicide. Everybody knows it. Monica Cannon Grant knows it. Ayanna Pressley, who has, again, fanned the flames of this racial animosity, made it seem like white kids supported the people who are accusing the white kids of killing Michaela Miller. They know they didn't. They all had alibis. The police cleared them all. Everybody knows what happened here, but they're going to lie about it because that's what Ben Crump does. He's going to come to town today virtually again, and he's going to repeat the lie, amplify the lie in hopes of creating this division, in hopes of creating and maybe create some violence, create some looting, some rioting. It's what he does. It's what he's done every step of the way. He started with the lie about Michael Brown and Ferguson saying, hands up, don't shoot. We know that was a lie. He said, Jacob Blake was unarmed. He said Breonna Taylor was asleep in her bed. He says these things to the cameras. He says them on Twitter. And the result is big, big problems. He doesn't improve the situation anywhere he goes. He doesn't calm the fears. He doesn't avoid the violence. He stokes the flames, incites the violence. He's going to try to do that in New England today, in Hopkinton, maybe in Boston. He's going to reach out to everybody, and he's going to repeat this lie that Michaela Miller, a 16-year-old girl, was murdered. It's despicable, and we talk about lots of despicable things. Hell, we're talking about the mask tyrants masking up children. That's bad. That's not in this league. In this league, you have people, and again, Monica Cannon Grant, Tito Jackson, Ayanna Pressley, a sitting congressperson who knows Michaela Miller committed suicide, does not care. Michaela Miller's black. Some of her friends were white, not all. So she's going to accuse, through her proxies of there being a cover-up. I'm not sure the motive of a cover-up. Do you think, that the people in Hopkinton or the people in the police or state police, want to cover up for the white kids who hanged the black kid? It's absurd. The whole notion, their whole theory is absurd. But they got some powerful people on their side, including a sitting congresswoman, and now the most high-profile race huckster in the country right now. I mean, more than Al Sharpton is Ben Crump. He was down in North Carolina for Andrew Brown, of course, who has. It's all already been. The investigation is complete. The cops were exonerated. It was a justifiable shooting. Andrew Brown had a rap sheet 10 miles long. He was a 42-year-old guy, a drug dealer with 10 kids, I believe lots of kids who was not a great parent. He was in the course of dealing drugs when he came at the cops with the car. They shot him. Investigation took place. They were exonerated. It was justifiable. It didn't matter. Ben Crump, accused him of killing him in cold blood. tried to get everyone riled up down in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, tried to get some rioting, some small businesses looted. That's his goal. He's going to try it here today. It will fail because even if you're just even if you want to believe this, even if you want there to be, race wars, if you look at the facts, if you look at this, if you read TV Daily News and see all the texts, you realize that they're lying. You realize that they're creating this myth, this narrative that just isn't true. She committed suicide. It's tragic. I mean, her mother abused her. She had a terrible mother. She had real deep-seated problems. That's awful. That's tragic. And now one of the things that people like Ben Crump and Monica Cannon Grant and Tito Jackson and Ayanna Pressley are doing are helping her mother raise money. Turtle Boy's got the latest on the GoFundMe. It's up to $58,000, I believe, for mom. Again, the mother who assaulted her own daughter is raising money and apparently doing it pretty successfully. Let's see what it's up to. 58,161 of a goal of 40,000. So far exceeded their goal. And this was just, was it a couple of days ago? Monica Cannon Grant on Facebook came up with, this whole theory of the murder. This is the person that, by the way, the Celtics have honored. Who else honored her? The Red Sox, I believe. The city. She's got an office again. She's got all kinds of support from public officials, elected officials, and she writes on Facebook, "There is no way Michaela could have killed herself. She was found standing upright with a belt around her neck, which was tied to a tree that was neither tall nor sturdy enough to withstand her body weight. The belt didn't belong to Michaela or her mother. She was assaulted by 5 white teenagers the night before. According to those familiar with the incident, Michaela met up with her ex-girlfriend and was set to return her belongings. When they met up, her ex-girlfriend was joined by 4 white teenagers who drove in from a nearby town. She goes through details of how they could have and did murder her. It's a lie. She's slandering 4 teenagers, high school kids, and people like Ayanna Pressley and Ben Crump and Tito Jackson are helping slander 4 teenagers who are innocent. The cops, they have alibis. The cops investigated. And they, again, a sitting congresswoman, this high-profile lawyer, are going to help this despicable person slander, lie about 4 kids. 4 kids who did nothing, who, by the way, lost their friend to suicide, and they're going to call them murderers, and they're going to do it again. The investigation was completed yesterday. The medical examiner declared it was a suicide, as everybody already knew. It was done. That's the time when Monica Cannon Grant and Ayanna Pressley is supposed to say, "We're sorry. We apologize to those kids that we accused or implied were involved in this. We're sorry." But of course they won't. Of course, that's not going to happen. Ben Crump's going to come there today and say she was murdered.
How does Ben Crump jumping on a Zoom call, create any type of, momentum to get them what they're looking for? So
I mean, it's too late. It's too late. We all know it was a suicide, but they just can't let go. I mean, I assume the mom wants to run up the GoFundMe. I mean, 58,000. She's probably thinking, she could get millions. And she probably looks at, like Breonna Taylor or George Floyd's family who got millions, 12, 14, 27 million. And maybe Ben Crump's telling her they could do that. Maybe they could sue. Hopefully they can't, but you never know in this day and age. And maybe they just think they can get more support. There's people who are looking, for a cause, and maybe they won't take the time to read the details. They won't take the time to read the text and the full report from the medical examiner. I mean, Ben Crump doesn't mind telling a big fat lie that gets, neighborhoods destroyed, gets people killed. As long as it gets him, support, gets him his percentage, he's cool with that. Our friend Will Cain did a commentary on Fox News last night. He did the 7 p.m. show, and he laid out the case and just took Ben Crump apart, laid out the case. He went through each case again, Jacob Blake and, starting with Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown, and goes through Jacob Blake and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And this guy, who's a lawyer, he's just not some crazy activist like Monica Cannon Grant. He's a lawyer. And in each case, he lies. Jacob Blake was unarmed, Breonna Taylor was asleep, on and on and on. And in many cases, and again, Will Kane tallied it up. Neighborhoods got destroyed, people get killed. And this guy doesn't apologize. Just the opposite. He cashes in. And there's virtually no real negative publicity because people are afraid. Just like they're afraid of Monica Cannon Grant. No one will call her out for the con artist she is, and they're afraid of Ben Crump. Will Kane laid it out beautifully, and it's remarkable. This guy just lies about every case, doesn't care. They win a judgment against the city, against the state, takes his 1/3 and moves on to the next case. He doesn't care if cities, communities like in Minneapolis or Ferguson or Kenosha get destroyed. Does not care, not his concern. He's back on the private jet and out of there with his 33%.
I think Will Kane made a little run at that 7 p.m. slot with this last night because this was trending everywhere.
I agree. I've watched him do it for 2 nights so far, and they were excellent. He's pouring his heart and soul into it. I think you're right. I don't know what I know. Bobby Burak from Outkick has been handicapping the race and the competition between all the people going for that 7 p.m. slot. I think he threw his name right in the.
Yeah, he kind of came out of nowhere.
Right among the favorites.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere getting it. But here he was last night
on that podium on that legal team last month. Is the master of deception, the one who has set the standard for these attorneys, the one whose lies have become to be chanted in the streets of America, and the one who has gotten rich off of these lies, Ben Crump. Ben Crump is the most dangerous man in America. Chances are you are familiar with his name. You've seen him at a microphone after almost every race-related high-profile tragedy, Tamir Rice, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. You heard his lies on Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, and Ma'Khia Bryant. But what you don't know is that Crump might be the single most destructive force in America.
That's what he goes into all the outlines now. But
and he's got the receipts. I mean, he's got the texts. I mean, the tweets from Crump, and he tweets all the time. And he tweets, just makes stuff up. Says, whatever. Breonna Taylor was asleep in her bed. He's involved in the case. He knows that it's not true. He says Jacob Blake was unarmed. He knows that's not true. He doesn't care. He just, he knows what he's doing, and he's out to make a lot of money and raise his profile. And he just lies, flat out lies. And he's going to do that today with Michaela Miller's mother. And I assume others will be involved in this. It's going to be a virtual press conference. They're going to accuse the cops and the medical examiner of a cover-up, which is outrageous. And unfortunately, the cops and the medical examiner and the other officials can't really fight back. They won't fight back. They'll just say, here's the investigation. It's complete. It's a suicide. But if you want to really find out how ridiculous it is, go to Turtle Boy. Go to TB Daily News. He's got the text. He's got sources. He has laid out a devastating case against the mother and others, Monica Cannon Grant, of course. But it's amazing that anybody's going to give these people the time of day, but they will. And unfortunately, Mom is going to continue. I don't know if that GoFundMe is going to continue to run up again. 58,161. Calvina Struthers is the mom. And she is cashing in, and she'll be there today with Monica Cannon Grant and Ben Crump, and they will be advancing the same lie 1 day after the medical examiner's report came out proving it was a suicide. It was an independent investigation. These people don't have they don't have an interest in this. They don't want to cover up any murders. They certainly there's no motivation for them to cover up a murder of a 16-year-old child. It's absurd, but she doesn't care. Does not care at all. But we'll be watching that. We'll be counting the lies, and Turtle Boy, I'm sure, will be blogging about it. That's today at 1:00, and we'll talk about it tomorrow with our friend, the Weird Worcester blogger. But we will leave it there for today. I'd put a call into Will Kane, see if he wanted to join us, but he's on Fox and Friends.
Yeah, I'd say, he's on Fox Friends. I'd say he's prepping for his 7 p.m. primetime show.
That's true, and he's kicking ass, and we're rooting for him. But he was just on Fox and Friends, and he should be, because he did a great job on this story, which so few people. You think you're going to hear that on any other network? I think you're going to read that in these corrupt, dying newspapers, the Globe or the New York Times. Are they going to point out that Ben Crump has intentionally lied and fanned the flames of, racial division over and over again for his own personal profit? Does anyone even point that out? No, because they're afraid of him, and they're afraid of people like Monica Cannon Grant, who will come after you and call you racist if you dare question their motives. Well, bring it on, Ben Crump. We'll see you today at 1:00, and we'll be listening to see how the Boston Garden crowd sounds today. See, you think it'll be quite as dead as last night?
Yeah, it won't be too electric, even though playoff hockey should be a good atmosphere. But
before you go, better than regular season hockey, I just
definitely it is. It's guaranteed. Before you go, you just mentioned personal profit. I just want to put my name in there. I am all for a Tom Brady reality show. All for it, every angle of it. No, we didn't get to it.
I'm all for it too, but I feel like we've seen it already. It's going to be a lot of him drinking protein shakes and getting massages and doing his funky workouts. You think you're going to be like in the bedroom with Tom and Giselle? I mean, what do you think you're going to see? We've even seen his kids. Someone once called his little daughter Vivian a nasty name.
I've watched a lot of reality television throughout my day. I don't think I've watched a lot involving an athlete, though. I don't know why. So I'm trying to think of what it could be like. I'm trying to compare it to something.
I love Brady, but I don't think it's going to be all that interesting. I mean, the guy doesn't even drink. He doesn't. He swears. But do you think you're going to see any kind of edgy, questionable behavior? I mean, he's not going to be.
He's a different Tom Brady now. He feels. I mean, he's hammered. He's drinking
once a year. He's hammered. He gets hammered every year at the parade when he wins the Super Bowl. But you know what? I'll watch because I'm a sucker for all things Brady. But I think we might be disappointed. Maybe he'll have him out there on his 77-foot yacht, tooling around, the Biscayne Bay or something. But I don't know. It's amazing how Brady just finds something to capitalize. He's going to be a billionaire with his wife, and he just finds something to sell every day. Takes it to another level, whether it's additives or equipment or shirts and hats and whatever. I mean, there's always something TB12 is peddling, and the latest is a reality TV show, which will be on Fox, by the way. I'm not sure his good friends like Gayle King or Oprah are going to appreciate him selling this to Fox, but he's going to be on Fox. It's going to be a reality show. Imagine when he retires. When he's done playing, which will be like 5 years from now, and he has much more time on his hands, then we're really going to see Team Brady.
Oh yeah,
go into overdrive or Brady Inc. go into overdrive. But you know what? It doesn't take away from his performance on the field. God knows.
Yep.
And people want it. There's a market for it. But when's that going to happen? Do you know? Is there a date on it?
I think they said there's no date on it yet, and it's tentatively scheduled. They did it to kind of hang out there with it was during an advertiser's presentation, so it was basically like what's to come, keep people guessing and stuff like that. So I think at the earliest it looks like 2023, I assume. So.
Finally, RIP to Charles Grodin, one of the great sidekicks, one of the great supporter actors of all time. He was, and I talked to my sometimes friend, my former partner who loves Charles Grodin about this. He was brilliant in a supporting role to two of the all-time greats, obviously in Midnight Run with Robert De Niro, but in Lonely Guy with Steve Martin. He was funny as hell as the kind of dour loser friend, but neither of them did they ever have a sequel or another. I mean, I said when I saw him first time with Midnight Run with De Niro, I said, those guys got to do it again. They had such great chemistry. And same with Steve Martin and Charles Grodin. They never did it again in either case. And I'm just going to guess it's because Charles Grodin off screen in real life was a little difficult. We saw when he had that talk show, there's been stories about him being a little temperamental. I'm guessing he wasn't easy to work with, so they never did it again. But it's too bad that they didn't. Midnight Run ended. They were both alive and well, and they could have done it again. They could have made it a franchise, and God knows De Niro will do anything for money in this day and age, so he would have done it. But Charles Grodin was really good, and he wasn't overexposed. You know what I mean? He just did his thing and did it well, and that was it. But I can't believe he's 86. And we were talking about this yesterday. A whole bunch of these guys are going to start dropping, like De Niro and Hoffman and Pacino and Gene Hackman and Robert Duvall. And Jack Nicholson. They're all up there. They're all 80s, late 80s. They're going to start dropping, and we're going to be seeing the great retrospectives on the careers of the great actors of all time. And guys like Nicholson, they're already done. He's got some dementia. He can't do it anymore. He's alive, but he's not working anymore. And guys like De Niro, they'll just do anything. They'll do dirty grandpa movies just for the money to pay the bills. So I think the glory days for this great generation of actors are over.
I'll watch that movie where De Niro interns with Anne Hathaway every single time it's on TBS. That's a fantastic movie.
Oh, is it The Intern? It's called
The Intern. Yes.
I can't turn the channel fast enough. I like to think of him as, the Raging Bull, or like to think of him as in Cape Fear. He was so great. I mean, he was just so great. In Midnight Run, he was just so great. I don't like to think of him as Dirty Grandpa or the Fockers. God, I hate the Fockers. I hate it. It's just sad. But anyway, we will leave it there. Thanks to DCU and Shea Concrete and Allied Paving. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching and liking on YouTube and subscribing on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Anything else, Callahan?
Nothing crazy. If you are I don't know what's going on with the actual stock market. If you're into the Bitcoin, all you Bitcoin bros out there, I don't know what the hell is going on today, but it's bad news. So buy the dip if you're interested. Buy the
tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to cut out some time. We're going to have Dave Callahan explain to you what happened to the Bitcoin market, what happened to the cryptocurrency market today. You get to the bottom of that, do some research, and you fill us all in tomorrow. All right?
Thoughts and prayers, folks. Thoughts and prayers.
Excellent. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will do it again tomorrow.